stage is ready for the fireside chat. We have got the moderator, Mr. Deepak Jain, as a moderator here in this chat. And we have got two phenomenal speakers, participants here. Mr. Anil Regu, founder and CEO, Right Horizons. Mr. Richard Patel, LVO, co-founder and CEO, True Beacon. A big round of applause for all of them. The chat is on high net worth families and their wealth planning structures, goals, challenges, and solution.
So, good evening, everyone. So, we are back after lunch, and this will be a very, very important session for all of you. Because one of the pain points which I foresee many advisors talk to me is how do I go to a bigger category of client? How do I reach to HNIs and ultra HNIs? So I have two very distinguished people who have done that and know how to do that. And we will be knowing from them how to do that. Right? And that's the basic purpose. कि हम कैसे बड़े client को cater कर पाएं. Right? The discussion will be in English. I know you will all be with me. Right? And so my first question, which is open to both of you, is how would you define an HNI or ultra HNI? What changes in the mind of a person when he converts himself from a normal investor to a HNI or ultra HNI, apart from the money he has?
Thank you, Deepak. Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me. I've just flown in from Bangalore, where True Beacon is based. I live in Bangalore, and I've been coming to your country for many decades. So I'm a proud Indian entrepreneur. I've also been in the wealth management space now for over 10 years or so as vice chairman for a big multinational private bank with a global role. And now True Beacon is a wealth management outfit, and we also manufacture AIF and PMS. I think this definition of what is a ultra high net worth, what is a high net worth, I've heard it for the last 10 years internationally. I've heard it here in India, and I think it's a little bit of a fool's errand to get too hung up on definitions. I mean, you can find some international banks will say 30 million US dollars is the demarcation. Some players will say it's 10 crore here in India. But to be honest with you, you can have paper billionaires who've got 1 crore to their name, and likewise you can have next gen from multi-billion-dollar families who also haven't been any liquidity. So I think you have to view this through the lens of what degree of sophistication and service is the client looking for. And I'll tell you what it's not. It's not retail, it's not commoditized, and it isn't a one-size-fits-all approach in wealth management. I think if you're a client that fits outside of that, and you clearly are an entrepreneur, you're a business leader, you have more sophisticated means, then by definition you fit into those two categories.
Could you repeat those three things again?
So I think the things that they're not retail. I think many of us, including me, as a consumer, we want retail. Sometimes we want retail banking, private wealth management, whatever it is. This is not the space we're in. So they automatically disappear off the radar. Neither is it commoditized.
Okay.
Commoditized is a relationship where it's very transactional. And I think wealth management for ultra high net worth and high net worth individuals is at the other end of the scale. It is never commoditized because it relies not just on product, it relies on us as human beings to intervene using all of the tools at our disposal to service them as well. And so I think this and it's a big topic, trying to define and nail down how much money they've got in their bank account is almost pointless. I know tens of young women and men in Bangalore who are running around with PowerPoint decks who undoubtedly will be billionaires in 10 or 15 years' time.
So your take?
Yes, so I also agree with that. Sometimes the number beyond a point does not help. Of course, if you go by some of the global definitions, say $1 million for HNI, and 30 million, so you would almost get like what, 250 crores for if you talk about ultra HNWI. But a lot of it is about, I think, how they also evolve. So I think, like Richard said, the HNIs also maybe start off possibly from retail. Okay, they grow in wealth over the years, maybe some event has sort of hit and, they get benefited from it, or they've built their businesses, wealth from companies. So I think for all of us here, the HNIs may be a lot easier to, address to start with. And you may just find that some of your customers itself, let's say if you have, say, 50 or 100 clients, you may find some of them actually come into it, right? So, but it also means that what is the level of sophistication of the client? Because you could have maybe a very traditional businessman who still thinks like a trader, right? And may not seek advice, may not seek customizations, may just want to do the things the way he wants to do, right? Similarly, you may even find somebody who is an ultra high net worth individual, say over 250 crores as well, owning a company, possibly some of it, lot of paper, right? Because it's maybe company wealth. So people look at what is the disposable or what are the investable income or asset that is there, right? So how does one address them? I think it's about starting off step by step. Maybe start off with the guys who maybe 10% of your clients sort of come in there, and for the larger ultra high net worth individuals, I think that's a little more complex, and I would believe it will also go a little bit beyond just the investing side, right? Because they may be sort of looking for family office type of solutions. They may want structures. They may want tax optimization. They may want to look at how do they pass things on to the next generation. Okay, so there are a lot of complexities out there. They may also like support on their businesses, where maybe you're able to structure and get a third opinion for them. So I think that's going to be a lot more complex. But if one builds those capabilities around, and having partners, you don't have to do everything yourself. I believe that, somebody can address that market.
Great. I'll just come back to a very simple question again maybe. I have a client who has an investment with me of 50 lakh rupees. Vis-a-vis a client who has an investment with me of 10 crore rupees. What changes? What actually changes, Richard?
It's a good question, and by coincidence we have product that, well, our minimum is 1 crore, and then we have our wealth management kicks in at 10 crore. I think you have to ask, first, just I agree with everything that Anil said. I think one of the biggest things about wealth management is it is a journey. It is a journey where from your company and from us sitting here in this hall, we aim to be alongside our clients for many, many years, if not decades. And likewise, we need a commitment from the client as well that they're going to invest in us. Clients are sophisticated. They have multiple relationships, of course, but all of us want to be the key relationship. And so I think that journey is very important. I think the heart of your question is, the more money you have, how does your investment and your allocation outlook change? And I think you need to look at that through a human lens and not through a financial services lens. I think for all of us at the end of the day, we all have families, we all have financial commitments. Many of you in this audience will have children, although unfortunately I think you're all in trouble because it's a Saturday and you're sitting in this hall instead of being with your children. But children are very expensive, and it is a commitment. It's a 30, 40-year commitment when you become a parent. And so your investing lens that you look through as an individual changes when you're single, you have no external commitments, you have a relatively frugal lifestyle, to when you have 3, 4 plus children, whatever it might be. And so I think for all of us in life, we want to the 50 lakh and 10 crore comparison, I think is, again, I like to think of it as you want to, that smaller amount of money is what it costs you to discharge your responsibilities as a family so that you generate enough wealth to look after at least one generation. And I think, again, just to maybe go off piste a tiny bit here, creating a business is very different to creating wealth. So what we're all trying to do in this room is help our clients create wealth that will survive at least one generation minimum. And in many cases, this was a multi-generational journey.
So basically, suppose I have 50 lakh rupees with me. So I can easily, wealth creation becomes a very important part of it because I need to fulfill all my financial goals. But at 10 crore, I've already done that. So is that the difference?
But it depends, doesn't it? You can have 50 lakh and live a lifestyle where that's paid all of your children's school fees up until 18.
Right.
You're very similar to a 10 crore client
Yeah.
who's chosen to send their children to the most expensive universities on the planet.
Right.
So again, I don't think it's not about the absolute money. It's about wealth management ultimately. What do we all do? I'm sure you do this too with your clients. You sit down, the very first thing you do is you map out the journey, their life journey. And it's not just through their life, it's through their children as well. We have many clients, we have hundreds of clients at True Beacon. We do wealth planning with them, they haven't even got children yet. Because we know that, hopefully they will have children, and we need to configure the journey to match with their expenditure and what they want to achieve in life. Not just here in India, but globally. Our clients are increasingly global in their investment thoughts and so on. So it's about mapping out their journey. I think then the question is, once you've done that for their generation and probably the next generation, maybe the luxury of going the next, is right, what do you as an individual want to achieve out of that? Do you want that surplus capital to be used for you to go and have fun in life? Do you want to use it to invest into private business opportunities? So again, it's very difficult to give a concrete answer to that because we're all, thank goodness, we're all humans and we all have different needs in life. I think what we need to do in this hall, though, is be very good analysts to read people first and foremost, and then to come up with products, solutions, services that match that journey.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a bit of a journey, and let me try and sort of deconstruct it. Of course, I still don't think the 50 and 10 crore is still low.
Okay.
Right? Because
100 crore?
So at least I think 50 crores is a number where, say, the thought process changes, right? So because still maybe that time they are still trying to look at, okay, what are my family goals? So I would think that for somebody versus retail, as one goes, to the high net worth individual side, I believe it's a little bit more about more detailing around their family, the financial planning, understanding the client is, I guess, always the most important. Because at times, whenever an investor today tells me, what, I can take risk, I'm trying to assess, does he understand risk or not? Right? Because a lot of the time, what is, say, told by them, they don't realize it themselves. And the first, say, market fall, they'll come, they'll be the first ones coming running to you. So I think it's about, maybe initially it's about, say, diversifying options for them, say, going beyond the say, mutual fund. They are also evolving in their journey, say, towards PMS, towards AIFs. Okay, but still it's about, the same basic things, like you said, maybe at a different level. Somebody is doing education at level A, somebody is doing at, something, say, global and stuff. What changes, of course, at that next level is, then it's, I think, a lot about personalization, right? So I don't even think you can go and start off with saying, okay, this is what we can do for you, asset allocation, etc. You step back and say, okay, what is it that you would like to do, and spend a lot more time, because you can also afford to do it at that size. As an organization, again, you may not be able to afford to do it at that 5 to a 25 crore type of number there, because it may not make as much commercial sense to do it, right? So I think that mindset change, I think, happens a little higher.
So we generally hear this. I want just to confirm, or maybe you think this is not correct. We generally see that person who is having this 5-10 crore rupees, he's more concerned about wealth enhancement. How do I increase the wealth? Moment you hit that 100 crore plus mark, you are more inclined towards wealth protection planning. Is that correct, or it may work or it may not work for everybody?
Yeah, I mean, through my career, I've been very lucky to meet many, many billionaires around the world and so on. I think this comes back to ultimately building on what Anil says, attitude towards risk. And for those of us in the hall, I don't know if we do have any billionaires here. I'm certainly not one, but I think it doesn't matter who you are. You can generally speaking, you can take risk at the beginning of your journey when you have. Then that risk is only going to come back to bite you, or you can take risk when you have accumulated enough capital so that if that risk obviously doesn't play out, you haven't harmed your family and the rest of it. So it's the biggest problem is when, like most of us on the planet, we're in the middle bit where we are probably typically late 20s, early 30s, up until we're mid 50s or 60 or something, when it's difficult, very difficult to take risk. I think I'll just say one thing about a trend that I've seen, and obviously I'm a foreigner in your country, but I've been coming here, as I said, for many decades. I've been living here in this stint for 4 years. I'm from the UK, but I think what we're seeing here in India is larger families that are getting towards the hundreds of crores marks and actually into the thousands of crores marks are becoming far more sophisticated. And what they want to do with that surplus capital is take advantage of obviously the equity capital markets, debt capital markets, but also the private markets. So they are viewing themselves now as allocators to capital to private opportunities. They're also investigating how they try and get the advantages of a multifamily office, and they are willing to entrust the next generation. I think that's the biggest thing I've seen in the 30 years that I've been coming backwards and forwards. The next generation now, I think, are really driving how those families invest those considerable sums when they get up into the hundreds and thousands of crores.
Yeah, so I think it happens by a journey. Again, it's coming back to that. Because what happens is initially, they are discovering, and I think along the way they make mistakes, right? Especially in that HNI piece of things, and that's where they realize that it's good to look at a risk-adjusted return. Okay, but I think it's completely it's impossible to generalize. It's the mindset of the person, because on one hand you may have somebody who has a very large capital. He says, you know what, I don't want to take any risk now, right? The other one is somebody else go the other extreme and say, yeah, I mean, I'll keep aside something, but for this part of it, I can really take whatever risk is possible, right? So I think it completely depends from person to person.
So I just want to deconstruct what we have seen. Two terms which I am hearing again and again by both of you is sophistication and multifamily office. Now, I want our participants to understand what do you mean by sophistication, and secondly we'll talk about multifamily office. So what do you mean by sophistication? His requirement becomes more sophisticated.
Yeah, again, I'll perhaps sketch out what I see globally, and most of you, I'm sure, in this audience are doing transactions either globally or you're traveling overseas and so on. But I mean, I hope we all appreciate, sitting in this hall, how exciting it is to be in India right now. I mean, it is breathtakingly exciting, the journey that India is on, and literally right now, I mean, even in my 3 or 4 years that I've been living here, even now, I mean, we're at the cusp now of the next 10, 15 years where if you are involved in any type of wealth management or businesses in India, it's going to be, hang on to your hats. Sophistication comes from the fact that historically investors here, particularly in India, but global investors as well, have been looking at really 3 asset classes. 1, property, 2, gold, and 3, fixed deposits. And we have now seen a degree of sophistication where even though they may choose not to reallocate, they are now open to other asset classes, and those asset classes could be everything, obviously, from Bitcoin through to, direct equities or whatever it is. So the degree of sophistication refers to, I think, the amount of solutions that the client is open to assessing not necessarily to deploy capital into, but open to assessing. And then, I know what Anil thinks as well, but a multifamily office is, as you alluded to at the beginning, an organization that will club together, pool capital, skills, and indeed client expertise to come up with solutions that are tailored not just for wealth management in pure isolation, but the full needs of the family that has generated that money. And that's an exciting place to be, a multifamily office, because you can have, let's say, 10 clients who are all worth, 1,000 crore plus, and then you can service the needs of those clients, whether it be on legal, on tax, on next generation, on family charter, on internationalizing and globalizing their investments and so on.
Yeah, I think sophistication, in my view, can also be looked at from multiple dimensions. Of course, one of it, we've been talking about the product side, whether it's the AIFs, whether within that private, unlisted, and, real estate products and stuff like that. It could come from geographical diversification, say multi-jurisdictions. You may have, the children elsewhere. You may have assets all over the place. They may want to, go in for citizenship at, couple of locations because you can do citizenship by investment. So it can come from taxation. So I think, you can look at it from multiple lenses, and for someone who goes higher, I don't think we can just say, okay, this product, I understand equity, I can do that. So it goes into multiple dimensions.
So basically what you're saying, sophistication means more complexities involved?
Yeah.
The solution becomes complex and the problem becomes complex.
I think if we do our job right in this hall, the problem is not any more complex. I think another point I have noticed, and again, this is just me getting older as well, is I think the more money, having money, a lot of money, is actually a weight on your shoulders. These are nice problems to have, you could argue, but actually, I think the job of a wealth manager is not to make that a burden, not to make it a problem, but to empower that client, to free that client to think about their operating business. So I think the solutions, the problems will always going to be very sophisticated because of the nature of the clients. The solutions, by definition, need to be relatively simple in terms of execution and for the outcome for the client.
So my last question in this question is a very important question for all of us. What should a mutual fund distributor do to start catering to HNI and ultra HNI clients? What steps would you ask them that this is what you need to do so that you can move to the higher level of the clients?
Are you talking about a sort of client acquisition?
Client acquisition, yeah, and servicing.
Well, I can only share, if you're interested, what we have done in True Beacon. So we're the sister company of Zeroda. My co-founder is Nikhil Kamath of Zeroda, and an incredibly impressive young man, and obviously a very accomplished trader in his own right. And we became friends maybe 3.5 years ago. Started True Beacon. What we thought to begin with is that we would try to be quite disruptive in the market through the level of service, the degree of product performance, the fee structure, and then last but not least, putting together the strategic value. I mentioned about multifamily offices, but I think that what we are trying to do is to connect our hundreds of clients across India, across different geographies around the world, so that they can, at one end, get to know each other. Maybe it's through philanthropic initiatives, maybe it's through next generation initiatives, maybe it's through something they want to penetrate markets, they want to co-invest together. I think how we have done it is to try to make ourselves distinctive, and it helps having some relationships to begin with. Again, as Vice Chairman of Standard Chartered, I left that role. I had some relationships with ultra-high net worth families around the world and here in India, in fact, here in Kolkata as well. But the key thing is be distinctive in the industry. There are many, many of us who are all trying to service these clients. And I think if you can make yourself distinctive and credible and have a degree of sophistication, I think that's fantastic. And I think that, last but not least, I think it's about training up both yourself and your teams to have that degree of sophistication. Because, you know, we're not in the retail space. We have to have both IQ and EQ to match our clients, and we have to understand when they say something in conversation, we should always be thinking about how we can help them achieve that. I think that's the big differentiator between perhaps, you know, retail, you know, bankers, where we all, you know, perhaps all came from and so on, to private wealth managers. Private wealth managers, the very best of them, can have a conversation with their client and they will interpret solutions that they can provide probably to problems that the client doesn't even know that they have yet.
So I think I would maybe suggest 2 or 3 things for people in this room as distributors. I think definitely on top of that is education and also maybe building skills around relationship management to the next level, because you also need to be able to understand the mindset, and from there comes, you know, solutions which the investors are comfortable with. The second is, I think, categorization of your client base. Okay, you cannot, in my presentation I did capture, you have to choose your strategy between saying, do I want to play on the retail market or do I want to evolve into the HNI market? And I think that's a decision that one would need to take, right? So that is something. And the third possibly is also be clear what not to do, right? So if you decide then, okay, I want to get off into the HNI side, I mean, that's a decision that we took. We actually closed down a number of our branches when we did our strategy, and we said, you know what, maybe the retail market is not our strength. It's better to do more complex stuff and add more value with fewer clients. And we cut down, you know, from 3 branches to 1 in Bangalore. Okay, all of the others also we sort of downsized and said we need to change also the people that we have, because a lot of it is an evolution which is not necessarily simple. You cannot just say, okay, you know what, I'll do all of it and also do this, right? So there's a strategic call one needs to take.
So basically, you need to educate yourself, build skills on relationship management with HNI and ultra HNI, and choose whether you want to be in that space or not. If you want to be in that space, categorize your clients. Whoever fits that bill, retain them. Ask those clients for more referrals because they'll be knowing those kind of people. And lastly, you need to choose what you would not do from today. Right? You cannot ride 2 boats together. So what he said that I only want to be for ultra HNI and HNI clients, others I am slowly moving out. So define your ideal client and start serving them. That's the message we have for all of you. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Richard.
Thank you,
Thank
Deepak.
you both,
Thank you.
all the esteemed speakers for this fireside chat. It has been wonderful. I would invite Mr. Richard to accept a vote of thanks from us, a token of thanks from AFM. Mr. Richard is a former Royal Air Force pilot. He served the British royal family as equerry to King Charles III and the Queen Consort. He was appointed senior advisor to Zerodha, a fintech unicorn, and he has co-founded True Beacon, a client-aligned asset management initiative with impressive returns.